Hi, I'm Amy from Whiteacres and I help your business look irresistible to your ideal clients so that they can't wait to work with you. Earlier, I rang a potential client who I bumped into yesterday about a website. She doesn't have one, but she wants a new site that she can sell her products on it. So deciding you want a website and then having a website is quite a big jump. There's a lot to think about in the gap between those two things. So how do you get from wanting a website to having a website? The first thing that you need to do is to get clear on what it is that you want. The key question to ask is, what is your website for? It might be for a number of things. For example, to showcase your expertise in your offering. You might want to build your list. You might want to give people information about your pricing. You might want to help you look professional, or to give you an online extension of your bricks and mortar business. And none of these answers are wrong. You might even be nodding along to every single suggestion, but it's a good idea to decide on the main purpose of your website so that you can ensure that the main focus is on that. Then the next thing to do is to decide which pages you need. This step is really important. Miss this part and you might end up with something which just doesn't do the job, and then you need to revisit it and spend more money on it. You'll have a home page because everybody does, but it can be anything. It could be your blog, it could be your sales page, anything. If it's an actual home page, as in, that's its purpose, a home page, then what do you want to include on it? You could have, links to blog posts. You could have links on it to your best-selling products. You could have a big picture of your smiley face on it with a big link to your about page so people can go find out more about you, like guide people around your website. You need to decide what you want on that page. Then which other pages do you need? Common pages or services, products, about, shop, FAQ, contact, and blog. Do you need a blog? Will you actually update it? Do people need to find you? Should you include a map? So you need to give all of this stuff a lot of thought. And the best thing to do is to write down everything that you think you need and then condense it into as few pages as possible. Get rid of whatever you can get rid of. What can you really not do without? What is a nice to have rather than essential? What will the people who actually visit your website be interested in? And how can you structure it so that you don't have everything shown at once and you can take your users on a journey rather than a guessing game for the right place to go? If you have a shop, then you need to consider the journey that a customer will take, going from finding the item they want to actually purchasing it. And you can take a look at other websites and see how others have done it for inspiration. Once you have a list of all the pages that you need to make some decisions on what you want on each page. Will it just be words or pictures? Do you want to include a gallery or a map or a form or a way for people to sign up to something? Or do you want your images to get bigger when you click on them or scroll through? Or do you need a timeline that scrolls from one end to the other? Do you want to have links to other pages? There's loads of things to think about, and you should write all of this down so that it makes sense and keep it handy. If you download my Design Success Toolkit, then there's a website checklist in there that will help guide you through this step. Once you know what you actually want, then you can spend some time creating content. And you might do this yourself, or you might not, in which case you need an amazing copywriter and a fantastic photographer or illustrator. And I'm not either of those things, but I can include some useful links and recommend wonderful people who have these skills, so I'll pop those in the blog post. But if you take advantage of the skills of others, then your website will most certainly stand out and convert better than if you don't. If you're doing this yourself, then you can take some time with your copy. You can get someone else to read what you've written, and you can check spellings as a minimum. For photographs, you need to use natural lighting. Take as many photographs as you can so that you'll have at least a few that will look pretty good, because photographs can make or break a website. If they are absolutely dreadful, then people might not even get as far as reading your copy. And there's some pretty awful stock photography out there too, so you need to be really careful and considered when you're choosing the images for your website. If you haven't done this already, then you need to purchase your domain name and your hosting. You can't have a website without these, so you need to think of your domain as your online address and your hosting as your rent. You need to rent the space that you're putting your website in. I use lcn.com, but there are so many options out there. And if you're building a site yourself, then you may want to choose hosting with apps on it so that WordPress or whatever you're using is automatically installed and you can just get on with it. And you can see the next point for more info on this. So for the DIY route, at this point you'll hopefully present all of this to a website designer. But if you've gone through this process with them, which can be invaluable, that's great. But if you're not going to hire someone else to do this work for whatever reason, then these are the next steps you need to take. So firstly, you need to decide where you are building your website. So there are so many options. There's Wix, there's Weebly, there's Squarespace, there's Shopify. My preference is WordPress. I just think it's over and above the best option because not only is it easy, but it can also be free, which is really handy when you're starting out. But there are just so many themes available that your website can look pretty wonderful very quickly. And there are so many plugins available, so you can make it do whatever you want. And it's incredibly adaptable as your business grows. So this section is going to be about WordPress. So you need to choose a theme, and to start off you can do a sketch, of how you want your website to be structured. Do you want to have an image across the top? Do you want 3 columns or just one? Or do you want the logo to be centered or left justified? Or once you've given this some consideration, you think about the colour scheme as well, and then you can search for a theme which is as similar to your idea as possible. And you can use the feature filter to help hone this down. It's actually on the WordPress website, although there are also loads of other places where you can go to buy amazing themes which may be even better, possibly are better. So spend a lot of time on this, not so much time that you never actually move on to the next step, but spend some time really looking at all the different themes and working out which theme you want. You might even find that there's a website that you really, really like the look of that you might have helped to sort of base your design around, and it might be a WordPress website, and it might even tell you what the theme is at the bottom of the page. So don't forget to check right at the bottom of the website, just in case they've used a theme that you can also utilise to create a similar image. And once you've found the theme that you want, then you can install it and get to work. But this is not a tutorial on WordPress, so I have found a useful video which I will pop in the blog post that you can watch to find out how to do that part. Then you can customise your theme, you can add your content, you can start telling people about it, but I'll have plenty of time for this part, as it will no doubt be a learning curve with many hours spent on YouTube. If you decide to go down the professional route, then you'll have made the decision to hand your website to a website designer, and this is what you need to do next. You need to choose the person to work with. There are a lot of web designers and developers out there, and some of them are really good, some of them are not so good, some of them are really expensive, some of them are really cheap, but you can barely walk through the door to a networking event or click into a business orientated Facebook group without tripping over a web designer. So you need to make sure that you're really happy with the person that you choose to trust with your online presence. So you need to look at their website. Do you like it? Look at their portfolio. What do you think of the previous work that they have done? Read the testimonials. Ask around for who other people have used, and are they prepared to rave about those people? What can they tell you about that? You might even want to have a chat with a few different designers and see if they're on your wavelength. That's absolutely fine. I don't think anyone would object to you having a chat with them to help you make a decision. And then you can use all of that information to decide who you're going to use. Then you need to give them all that information you've collated, those pages that you've been working on and what they are, the content that you've written and the images, and show them other websites that you like the style of so they get a feel of the kind of work that you want. And then sit tight, because this bit takes a while. Your designer will come back to you soon at some point, which you probably should have decided with a deadline, because that helps everybody, to show you their ideas and their progress at varying points between your initial exchange and the deadline. And then you'll end up with a swanky new website and a little bit of training showing you how to use it so that you can update it when you need to. And then you need to tell everyone about it. It's no good having a website if it just sits there and nobody knows about it. So shout it from the rooftops. Plaster your URL everywhere. Get people to visit it, and do whatever you can to utilise your website for the purpose you determined on in step 1. And while you were waiting for your web developer to create your website, it was probably a good idea to have spent some time creating content, especially if you're going to have a blog. You could have written many blog posts and got ahead of yourself and created an editorial calendar to fill that website up so that you've got stuff to send out straight away. So that's how you go from wanting a website to having one. So if you like this video, please share it and subscribe. Download the Design Success Toolkit so you can use the website checklist. And if you already have a website, then please pop your link in the comments and give us your website tips.